Good morning. Thank you for joining us today for episode 18 of Exploring Economic Development with MEDC. My name is Meredith Harris, the Executive Director of Marlborough Economic Development, and I am joined today by our moderator and co-host, Jill Morin.
Hi, Meredith.
Good morning. Happy Wednesday.
I'm so excited.
I'm excited too, because we have another member of our team. I'm a little bummed because we don't have both members of our team. Linda's sick today.
Yeah.
But Linda, we love you. Hope you're feeling better.
Yes.
But we have Lindsey
Also, hope she's
us.
not watching. I hope she's
I do hope she's not watching. I hope she's feeling better and
I
resting.
want her to know she's loved.
Yes.
And we always want her around.
But hopefully she hears this later on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rest. We love you.
But we have Lindsey.
Yes.
Hi, Lindsey.
Good morning.
Oh, wait. I don't have her on yet. Then. Hold on. Hi, Lindsey.
Lindsey.
Good morning.
All right, we got to do our housekeeping.
I know. We need to do some administrative stuff. But we're just really excited to have Lindsey with us this morning.
Yes.
It's fun because you and I get to do this every Wednesday, but to have you in the room with us is just exciting.
That's the best.
But yeah, 18 episodes. We're really excited about that. I remember when you tried to get me to do this back in January. It was a little bit of teeth pulling, a little bit of arm twisting, but it's been a blast. We've had so much fun. But beyond having fun, we've also learned a lot. We've had a lot of great guests that have been able to come into the office and join us on the podcast. And when we started this whole project, it was during a time that people weren't really engaging with one another because of COVID and because of a number of different things. But things have changed a little bit in the world. I think the podcast has gotten cleaner, more streamlined, kind of cool. Fancy. We've had a lot of amazing guests that have joined us. But just really excited. This has been a really fun project that we've worked on.
So if you're joining us for the first time, as you can see, we've got some information down there. It's our email address, our phone number. If you're watching on, YouTube or Facebook, or even on our local cable access channel, WMCT TV, they also stream this show.
Right.
I'm not sure what day that streams.
I think they replay it several times during the week.
Well, why wouldn't they? I'm just kidding. If you're joining us live, I know our buddy,
Spencer,
our one and only Spencer, is joining us.
Good morning
to the whole MEDC crew. So excited for what is to come. Thank you so much for joining us. So if you're joining us live, you can comment on Facebook, on YouTube, and let us know your questions.
Yeah. So today we're gonna kind of recap. We thought it would be a good time to recap maybe not all of the episodes, but kind of our biggest takeaways of what we have learned. You know, the whole point of this project was to learn more about economic development and to share with all of you what we know about economic development, things that we do in the office, things we think you guys might not know about, but would love to hear from folks still today as we're doing kind of a little recap or our favorite moments, the best of EED. But before we jump into that, we do have a couple little administrative things that we want to talk about. I know everybody's going to be really sad to hear this, but we are going to pull it back a little bit for the new year and for the holidays, and we're going to go to one episode a month.
One episode.
Just one episode. So it'll be the first Wednesday of every month versus the first and third Wednesday of every month.
Yep.
But that means we're just going to really bring it.
We're going to
every first Wednesday of the month.
Like, instead of two good, one amazing.
One amazing show.
Yeah.
And I have to say, the reason for that is because people are we're starting to get a little bit busier, right? Which is really great, and busier in terms of in-person meetings. We're out and about in the community more, which is really a good thing.
Right.
I think people are starting to kind of come back to life after the pandemic. People are out and about, and we just think that that's a good thing, but we want to continue with this because we think this is also a really
Meredith,
good thing.
I'm sorry to report we have a complaint.
A complaint?
We totally do. President Ossing said he is crushed.
We're so glad that you're joining us this morning. So glad to have you. Lindsey is trying to pipe up. We're not letting her.
Good morning, City Council President Ossing.
There we go.
There we go.
We're all on the screen now.
We are. So speaking of that, before we jump in, my other administrative thing I wanted to say was a big congratulations to all of our elected officials in Marlborough. As many of you know, yesterday was election day here in not only in the city of Marlborough, but Massachusetts, but a lot of great municipal elections going on. And we want to say congratulations to all of the incumbents that were reelected, and also a congratulations and welcome to our new Ward 4 Councilor, Tiona Brown. So we look forward to working with you and look forward to working with all of you to continue working with you. So congratulations to all of you.
Yay.
And on to the next 2 years. Well, we should finish this year and then we'll get on to the next 2 years. But so with that, why don't we jump in?
Yeah.
Let's jump in. Lindsey, So me and Jill do this every week. You typically watch us doing this, right?
I do typically watch this.
And you were our first guest.
I was the first guest, and this started my first week at MEDC.
So we
this
really
is all
threw
I've
you in,
ever
right?
known of MEDC.
But I mean, what a great way to onboard a new employee, right? Like, hey,
Yeah.
we're going to throw you onto our
You're
podcast.
going to be on a live stream.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
yes.
you killed it.
Right,
as
coming
always.
right out
Absolutely.
of all of the comfort zones.
Right.
It's great.
But-
But everyone says after they've been on, this was so much fun.
It is a lot of fun.
And it is so much fun. And
It
it's
is.
so great to have the guests we've had in have been amazing.
Yeah.
The content we're putting out is amazing.
I think
and
so. And the variety of guests has been really kind of cool, too.
Very cool.
Yeah. So we went back, all of us went back and tried to look at kind of the 17 episodes,
yeah.
stays 18. But to look at kind of our favorite takeaways, the biggest things. Yours, a lot of the stuff that you loved had to do with hospitality or just Marlborough in general, because you're a Marlborough resident, born and raised, loves Marlborough. I don't think I've met anybody that loves Marlborough more than Lindsey. So a lot of her clips that she picked out were very Marlborough centric, but take us through a little bit. What were some of your very favorite moments? We'll start with you, Linz.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the beginning we had Michael Andelman on from
That
Phantom
was so
Gourmet,
much fun.
which was so fun. And he talked about the organic growth of Marlborough, which I thought was really genuine and exciting to see that small businesses have rough starts.
Right.
Organizations like ours can have rough starts.
Sure.
Cities can have rough periods.
Right.
But as you continue to move forward, put one step in front of the other, we all grow together.
It works.
And it works, yeah.
Did you? Well, you did see because you posted it, but that the entire Andelman family was in Marlborough this weekend at Welly's.
Oh.
It was great. They took a picture, sent it to us, but it was Eddie Andelman, who's kind of a well-known name in Boston, but he wanted to come out and check out Welly. So we love the Andelmans. We love Phantom Gourmet. But not only did we partner with them, but they also like Marlborough genuinely.
Yeah, to have a touch on any restaurant
Right.
in the state that you want, and
Right.
your elderly father calls you and says, "Are we going to Marlborough today?"
Yeah, I need to go to Welly's. So they went out. They took a great photo. So we shared that over the weekend, which was really nice.
Yeah.
Um,
And having that touch point with them has been so huge for the
Marlborough
restaurants.
business. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, it's been great, especially during COVID, when everybody, especially the restaurant industry, it was kind of like, what do we do now? How do we pivot? I mean, I think everybody was affected by the pandemic, but the restaurant industry in particular, had to pivot the most, I think. So it was nice to have them as a partner during all of that, to be running some of the dining and the takeout, additional ads, and to really just do some unique, cool promotions for some of our restaurateurs was awesome.
Yeah. And they're pushing forward too. We just did their event in September on Moody Street
Yeah,
in
it was
Waltham.
awesome.
And
It was cool to go to Moody Street too, because it's typically at Fenway. The next event, we're definitely going to be pitching it to be in Marlborough, which
you
would be
hear that?
awesome. But that was a really fun, energetic, awesome episode.
that was a great one.
It was.
Want to play it?
Yeah. Why don't we play the clip?
Okay.
Do we have the clip? Can we run the clip, Jill?
You bet we can.
Awesome. We would love to hear it straight from your mouth.
Yeah, I think part of the
backstory.
reason why Phantom and the Andelmans love Marlborough, it seems like Marlborough and Phantom sort of grew up together and got bigger and more popular, especially with hospitality as the years went on. Our company was founded in 1993.
I won't
and-
tell you how old I was then.
Not even born. And in 1993, we were on cable. And if you think Wayne's World is like a really high-end show, we were like 50 times worse than that.
Really?
It was. So the first episode of the show, the
Okay.
first episode of all time, we had we took phone calls because we didn't even have like video of restaurants. So people
Wasn't there an actual Phantom?
there was an actual
Yeah.
Phantom, and we would go out and review restaurants anonymously, but it was an hour show and we had like 2 minutes of video.
Really?
So the other 58 minutes we would recruit phone calls and like, Fred and Lynn, you wanted to, and it was terrible television, okay?
Well, yeah, well.
So the first episode, by mistake, we didn't put the station number up.
Oops.
We put my brother Dave's number up.
Whoops.
no.
Okay, so that's the bad news. The worst news is he had no messages at his home phone when we got home because we had 0 viewers.
Yeah.
But
Not
as
the case
year-
anymore.
Yeah, as the years went by, and it really is a tribute to my brothers that started the company. It was David and Danny from the beginning. like a rock band that's playing a small club, and then organically it finds itself playing the Boston Garden 10 years later.
Yeah.
We've been doing this now 28 years.
Wow.
And what has really been gratifying through good times, through pandemic times, through recessions, is that hospitality and restaurants offer comfort to millions of people that live in New England.
Right.
And what happened with a place like Marlborough, if we look at what Marlborough was 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and where it is today, in such a destination for activities, for business,
So different.
for hospitality.
Yeah.
And we're talking anything, when someone like Fix from the Niche Restaurant Group,
Love Mike
from
Covino,
Worcester and Mike Covino,
Yeah.
when they say, we're going to branch out and Marlborough is our next location,
Yeah.
you have arrived, because he's one of the premier restaurateurs. So we look up
Awesome.
That was awesome. So,
We could have kept playing it.
well, I know we're all looking at each other like, when should we cut it? When should we
stop?
cut it? But he just said, in a great segue to our next person that we want to talk about, we are celebrating 15 years of MEDC this year, which to me is just amazing, right? We've had a lot of guests that have come on the show. Arthur Bergeron is one. We've had the mayor talk about it. Folks that were involved with MEDC way back when, right? And so when you talk about the growth of Marlborough and the growth of the organization, that organic growth, that he just nailed it, right? He hit the nail on the head. But when we had Arthur Bergeron on, Arthur Bergeron, so near and dear to my heart. He's such a Marlborough staple. Love him so much. But the mayor and Arthur Bergeron both talked a lot about this notion of expanding the pie. And back 15 years ago, when MEDC was born, that was the whole idea behind the organization, was how do we expand the pie? And it also works out that we're talking about pies with Phantom Gourmet. And I think Bergeron, we'll play the clip, but I think we had a debate about whether it was a pizza pie or if it's an apple pie. That was a really fun moment as well. But can we run the clip too of Arthur Bergeron? Because I think that is such an important thing to understand about MEDC and what we do and why we're here, is this whole idea of expanding the pie.
Absolutely. Here we go.
Who do you want to hear from?
I don't know. It just says talking about French
I
toast.
have always told clients, right, who were looking, whether they were looking to buy, whether they were looking to live, that's the great jewel, hidden jewel of Marlborough.
Yes.
You can bike to work in the southwest quadrant, right? You can walk to restaurants, right? You can walk to the new super duper library. It's a function also of the fact that Arthur and others are continuing to invest in our downtown core.
Absolutely.
That's the future. I think the investment that's being made along the Lincoln Street corridor,
Huge.
at least as important as that, the zoning that got done for the Lincoln Street corridor, really emulating the zoning downtown to
Right.
try to
Well,
focus
it's a
on
natural extension.
to try to focus on what you're trying to do there. That's the future.
Yeah.
That's the future. I think that we need to be looking at programs to encourage the individual owners there to work with their properties, right? While at the same time encouraging affordability.
Right.
We want to preserve the affordability of that neighborhood as it takes off,
Right.
But I think it's the next big thing.
Well, we're looking right now, different grant opportunities and things as well to really enhance the rail trail. The head of the rail trail right there. Maybe their parking, bathroom, something like that in the future. But that's something that we would love to see happen sooner rather than later. Yeah. So with that, we have hit our time. So that was the wrong clip. It's a live video podcast.
He does talk about growing
He does
the pie.
talk about the pie, but
So
that
you know
in
what?
particular was about
This
French
was
Hill.
intentional. Let me tell you guys. We wanted to give you like a piece of the pie, a little slice to get you excited
To see who's paying
to
attention.
go back and watch that episode 7 in its entirety.
in its entirety. I mean, you can't really play a wrong clip today because they're all phenomenal clips, right?
Right.
And we're talking about expanding the pie in a very important part of our city. But I think the one that we were going to queue up was the mayor talking about expanding the pie.
Yeah, give me a second. And
So why don't we
throw
look
that
for
in
that one? But Arthur Bergeron, he talked about expanding the pie a lot. So that is a great episode. And if you want to learn about expanding the pie, not only does the mayor speak about it, but Arthur Bergeron does as well. But that's a lot of what we do here. We talk about how do we expand the base and how do we make sure that the residential tax rate is stabilized by bringing in additional revenue to the community, building that business base, and continuing to expand the pie. We also talk about how the services piece of the pie gets expanded as well, but it doesn't impact your wallet. It doesn't impact your tax that you're paying as a resident here in Marlborough. Are we ready? All right, Jill.
It just, the pie has to expand because the government's going to need a little more money to pay the increases and the benefits for all our employees and provide the services. The cost increase.
Right.
The revenue has to come in from somewhere. So you either take it in from your residents or you take it in from your business community, or hopefully you get more from the state. That's very limited right now. So you have to take it in from somewhere. This way, we're bringing in the additional revenue with our new growth from some of these companies, and it's worked to this point. So let's keep it going.
Well, and I think the important. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for explaining that for us. That's the right clip. So again, all about the pie, expanding the pie. That's what MEDC. That's why we were started 15 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, I think a couple people have told the story about, you know, back in 2006, 2007 timeframe, Fidelity left the city, and it was kind of everybody sitting around saying, how do we make sure that that never happens again? And,
Right.
and when we mean that never happens again, we're saying, how do you make sure that a Fidelity doesn't leave in the middle of the night and take with them 5,000 employees and no one knew about it? You know, and how do we make sure that if they're going to leave, because sometimes they're going to leave, you know, sometimes there's things outside of our control for a big company to leave like that. But how do we at least have a bite at the apple? To make sure that if they're leaving, we know that they're leaving, and we've had a chance to say, why are you leaving, and how can we potentially get you to stay here? Because big business in your community is a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, you've got 5,000, those 5,000 people were getting their hair cut, you know, downtown at Rocks. They were going to eat at Welly. You know, those people are shopping at our retail stores. They're getting gas at our gas stations. They're shopping in our grocery stores. They're feeding, again, the big fish feed the small fish. That was one of our first topics that we talked about.
So I remember I went to Prulers recently.
Love Prulers.
Love Prulers. It's a Brazilian restaurant right down on Lincoln Street near 7-Eleven. Excellent. Go if you haven't tried it, or if you're a little intimidated to, like, if you want to try Brazilian food but you're not really sure about, do I need to speak any Portuguese? You don't. They're
phenomenal.
They're amazing. Their food's delicious. But I went there and I was asking them, you know, how actually a year ago, and then I've been since, because, you know, just food's that good. But I said, you know, how has business been? And they said that when it was during the pandemic, it was so hard for them because so many of their customers work at Boston Scientific, and there's so much business. So they took, I mean, we've already kind of chatted about that a little bit, but they took such a big hit,
big time,
when those bigger businesses weren't
here
frequenting the community.
Right. So
yeah.
Can I jump to one of my favorite clips?
Why not? Let me get you set up first.
All right, while you're getting set up, I'm going to tie back to Arthur Bergeron, because I don't think we lost it there. We're talking about foot traffic.
Yeah.
Right? That area of Marlborough has more foot traffic than probably any other area.
Right.
The French Hill.
Yeah. And French Hill, you know, talking about expanding the pie, that is an up-and-coming great area of the community, ripe for revitalization. It's I think I said it in the clip, but a natural extension of the downtown.
Yep.
No, you're right. It's an incredible. Don't you walk in French Hill all the time? She's gone. You can catch Lindsey walking her dogs in French Hill all the time, right?
It is.
It's a great area.
Yeah.
But a lot of great restaurants up there, a lot of things that are happening, a lot of road improvements.
Road improvements are amazing.
The
MassWorks wide sidewalks right now.
Yeah, everything's really great up there. And we
access to the rail trail.
Just had the announcement of the MassWorks grant for the Main Street to do continued improvements, which is just awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so can I go now?
Yeah.
All
yeah.
Right, cool.
Oh, yeah.
So and I'm not just saying this because we know that President Ossing is watching, but the conversation about TIFs. So we're talking about big business, and, you know, a lot of what we do at MEDC is attraction. We do the retention, but we also are trying to attract business to the community, not just big business, but small business as well, medium-sized business. That's why we started the toolbox, which we had Linda on to talk about the toolbox for one of our episodes. But The TIF program is one that is used frequently in Marlborough. I mean, I shouldn't say frequently. It's used on occasion when we need it, but we're no stranger to the TIF program. And I think people have heard the term, but don't always understand what it means. You know, when you think of a TIF, I think people think that it's this big tax break that these big corporations are coming in and they're getting a tax break and the city's going to lose money, when that's not the case. The city does not lose money on a TIF. And I think President Ossing really did a wonderful job of explaining that. You know, and the basics of a TIF is that it's a savings on the assessed value change. So when a company comes into your community and they're putting in a capital investment and they're improving the property, they always pay that base level tax. And then the increased value that happens over time, they will end up paying that in full at the end of the TIF, but they pay it in increments over a certain number of years. So again, the city never loses money on the TIF, but it's a great tool that's available to communities to be able to, I guess, vie for these companies to choose their community for the long-term benefits that you'll eventually see. So if we can roll the clip of him talking about that, I think that was a really poignant moment in the podcast so far.
A good example over on Crowley Drive, which is up by Assabet Valley. A company came in back in 2014 for a TIF, LFB Manufacturing, right?
Yep.
Built a beautiful building. We gave them a TIF, I think it was a 15-year TIF. Beautiful building, pulled out.
Yeah, they didn't come.
They never came in. So prior to them getting here, they paid $10,000 a year for property taxes because there's no building. They built the building. Those taxes are now $100,000 a year.
And we're collecting that regardless.
And we're collecting that to this day.
Right.
All right. And good news is resilience. The company's moving in there now. They're revamping it. So we're going to get even more tax money when it comes in. But the city did not lose a dime on that property. And the TIF was based on relief when jobs came and they filled it up. Well, we got the building part.
They never,
but they never filled out their end. But the city made out, but that's what gets lost in some of the translation. So I mean, I hope, and I'm happy to talk to anybody that wants to. And
it's complicated.
Well, the state doesn't make things simple sometimes. But,
You're shocking.
But again, it's an economic development tool cities and towns can use to help stimulate. You want industry in your community to help lower your residential tax. Now, you don't have to bring them in. We don't have to do economic development. But then, salaries go up. Health insurance goes up. Retirements, all the budget continues to go up. Someone has to pay for it. So ask yourself, how do you want to do it? And I think through MEDC, the city has done an outstanding job balancing the new business coming into the city with the residential tax rate being able to stay, steady and predictable, right?
Love that. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Now,
love it as a resident.
Yeah, it's a simple explanation. But I think he's right. A lot of that gets lost in translation, and it can be complicated, especially if you don't understand it.
I came into working with MEDC as someone with some marketing, some video production, photography experience. And truthfully, I didn't know a lot about economic development.
Have you learned a lot?
I feel like I've learned so much. I really have. I've come to appreciate so many things. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes that on the outside you just might not understand, and all you think about is how things affect you, which makes sense. I mean, right? Like if I don't like that the traffic on my road's terrible because they're tearing up the road. Yeah. But I've been complaining the last 10 years about the bumpy roads.
Well, and the thing about that too, like we talk, like the grants and things like that. Yeah. The MassWorks grant. I mean, we just got $3 million from the state to
Let's
do
talk more about that
improvements.
Because I feel like it's been promoted, but can you tell us just more about that?
Yeah, so it's the MassWorks Infrastructure Grant Program, which is now called One Stop through the state. Again, I think President Ossing said the state doesn't make things incredibly easy for us sometimes, but during the pandemic, they rolled out a whole new program, which you now apply to the state. Every grant program is under one hub. It's called One Stop. Okay. So you go to the state and you say, hey, here's a project we have, or here's something we need funding for, and they will take your project and they determine determine which grant program you fall into.
Okay.
Marlborough is, again, no stranger to the MassWorks program. It's one that we have applied for several years. I think the first one that Marlborough applied for was through the mayor's office with Mike Berry. It was for Cimarano Drive up in that area where they redid the entire road coming off of 23C. I don't think it's 23C anymore, but it'll always be 23C in my mind.
It might be 63.
Yeah. What is it now? 63?
Yeah, maybe 62.
Yikes.
Yeah.
23C. So, but that, I think back then it was, I want to say that was a $2.5 million grant. Don't quote me on that, but it was something in that realm.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit less. I'm not 100% sure. But that was the first one back in, I think it was 2014, was that grant. Anyways, after that one, we got one for East Main Street. Then we went over to Apex.
Yeah.
The Apex one was a $3.5 million grant to redo all of the infrastructure along Route 20 that coincided with the Apex Center. So the traffic signals, the sidewalks, all those things, all those improvements that you saw over there were paid for by the state grant in partnership with the private developer.
Yeah.
So, the private investment that was made, the city makes an investment, but then the state will also come in and make an investment. It's the three coming together to improve an area. And it's a really great program. So we just recently received one for Main Street. I don't have all the details on what that project exactly looks like, but the DPW is kind of putting that all together right now. But again, the big takeaway, $3 million coming back to the community to help pay for some of these upgrades that need to happen.
So I've got a comment from President Ossing, $3.5 million for Cimarano grant.
It was bigger than I thought it was. Wow. That's great. Thank you.
Speaking of President Ossing, we've got a comment from Spencer. President Ossing is so good at breaking down topics. Great guy to chat with.
Look at that.
Absolutely.
Spencer is the fan club president.
Yes,
I love him.
And I've got, and guys, I'm sorry if we're not in the chat so much today. We've got so much that we want to kind of go over, but keep your comments coming. We will circle back to them.
Absolutely.
Greater Boston Life with Eric Rafferty Real Estate says, great insight, ladies.
That's great. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, we enjoy having you.
He joins us a lot.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Eric.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we're talking about TIFs,
grants.
we're talking about grants.
Yeah.
So that kind of segues into some of my favorite parts of the episode. And I feel like I'm talking about myself a lot here, but my biggest takeaways have been the outside people that we've been able to bring into the podcast.
Yeah.
The Kelly Arvidsons, the Greg Bunn, Kevin Kuros, Jason Palich, some of the folks that we work with on a state level that have resources that are available, programs that are available. We deal with them all the time. We talk to these people all the time. We're coordinating with them. We're partnering with them. So we're aware of the programs, but I truly believe there's not enough people out there, whether it's Marlborough or the Commonwealth, that are aware of the resources that are available to them. So I think that has been hugely beneficial, not only to our Marlborough businesses, but anybody that's watching this podcast to learn about some of the programs and the things that are available to them as a business owner, as a resident. We had Jason Palich talking about the importance of your neighboring communities, as being a region stronger together. We had Danielle Gregoire on to talk about, state on a state level, how we can really advocate for ourselves for things like grants and stuff like that.
Yeah. And when to reach out, and that people shouldn't be afraid to do that.
Absolutely.
I'd like that a lot.
So I think
me
that's
too.
been a huge, piece of this is being able to let other folks promote themselves.
Yeah.
We've had our local chamber come on, all these different organizations and resources that are available, to try and get the word out there.
Yeah.
But Kelly Arvidson was so much fun.
Kelly Arvidson was, and what a legend. 25 years she just celebrated in Massachusetts economic development.
Yeah.
How unbelievable is that?
I know we talked a lot about Team Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And now Kelly is just so much fun.
So fun.
And she's also super knowledgeable about economic development. And she sees it all over the state.
Yeah, right, because she's in different regions. She's
Right.
just not in one office all
So
the time, which is
she's
so cool.
in Worcester, but she deals with people all over the state. She has her counterparts, but we travel with Kelly a lot on the site selector trips and talking to businesses around the country to try and get them to come to Marlborough. But I think you had picked out one clip.
I did
for
pick out a
Kelly,
clip.
right?
I also have to go back to saying that, again, came in so nervous and then left here saying this was the best thing ever. So if you want to be a guest and come have fun with us,
Let us know.
let us know.
That's right.
But yeah, I love this clip.
I could not agree more. And of all the things that I've done in my job at Mass Development over the last 25 years, I'd say that the partnerships and the relationships and the trade shows that we've worked together with so many different agencies between Mass Life Sciences Center and Mass Econ and Mass Bio and Mass Medic and Marlborough, you are clearly the rock star community that always joins in, always want to partner. And I think you're seeing the benefits of those relationships because again, you always know who to call. People always know to call you. We talk about Marlborough as always just the example of a community that gets it right because people don't know about you if you're not out there.
If you don't put yourself out there.
And we put ourselves out there as a team. I think we all get to know each other really well. When I think over the years of the companies that wouldn't be in Massachusetts if we didn't meet them and do the recruiting that we do at these trade shows. And frankly, you know, this isn't a negative, but Massachusetts doesn't have a huge budget for statewide trade show participation as some of the other states do. I mean, we compete with states that have
big time
multi-million-dollar budgets and send just hundreds of people to cover these trade shows. And we usually go in a small group, you know, nickel and diming, you know, 5 or 6 of us from different organizations that all split the cost of
Tiffany,
a booth at the bare minimum. But we're out there and we're present and people know us and they see us year after year. And in your case, when we go to MD&M, the mayor comes. There's no greater compliment to companies from Marlborough than when we walk the floor with the mayor and you get to see 50 or 60 companies in New York City when we go to MD&M. It's
huge.
That's just huge.
I mean, so you talk about him being able to, you know, we talk about BRE and retention and attraction, but being able to hit, you know, 5 or 6 Marlborough companies in 2 hours and to actually have a real life conversation with people from those companies and get feedback, it's huge value.
It's huge. I look at that as probably the part of what I've done over the last 25 years that's I'm most proud of because
love Kelly. And to your point, Lindsay, she was so nervous to come in, and she did such a great job.
So good.
We love Kelly. She was so much fun. Welcome back anytime.
I love that episode.
But not only does she talk about how she loves Marlborough, and she really does love us here in Marlborough, but Kelly just talked a lot about like state resources. And again, I just think that's so important for people to understand all that's available to them and all that's out there. So I think we have a little bit of a competition going, right, between our guests that come on to the podcast. But our number 1 viewed episode, does anybody know? You guys know, right?
I know.
I don't know. I don't know if I know.
Does Spencer, do you have a guess? Do you watch it?
I'm checking the chat.
Let's see if he has a guess, because we have like our top 3 that people have watched. And it's kind of funny, but does he have a guess? We'll give him.
I have to say, a lot of people that watch this while we're finding that out from Spencer, they also say, wow, what they're doing in Marlborough is so amazing. And there's so many other towns and cities around us trying to emulate what the MEDC is doing now, which, how proud.
That's cool.
And I think the unique part about MEDC and why Marlborough is so unique and why I love working in Marlborough, it's just so like a creative mindset here. It's so innovative. The mayor is a little competitive, so he's always, how do we make sure that Marlborough is on top? And that's really what drives us, right? Is how do we make sure that Marlborough is always the best place to live, work, and play? And if that means getting creative about what we're doing with our projects, with our initiatives, we're willing to do that. Which I just love that attitude. But
I love that because
it's fun.
I came in here like with a few ideas. I'm like, well, maybe instead of like a bulletin or like an email newsletter, like why don't we do a video? And like to be able to, even in the team and the leadership here too, has just been awesome for someone that is a creative to be able to say, oh, why don't we try this? And why don't we do this? Or why don't we, it's been really,
that
for
it's
me
always,
personally,
let's go for it.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't even have to be like, okay, hear me out. You're like, I'm here for it. So that's been great.
And the way that we're funded was very creative.
Yeah.
I don't know of any other organization, an economic development organization, that is run or funded the way that we are. Again, that's through the hotel tax, the local hotel tax. And the idea behind that was that your visitors that are coming into your community, into your hotels, there's this little tax they're going to pay. They don't even notice it. But they're going to pay it, and that's going to go back into our community for economic development and to support growth and, you know, again, attraction, retention, community revitalization, neighborhood revitalization, all of those wonderful things.
And to give amenities to the visitors.
Right, give them a reason to want to be here. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Lindsay's our hospitality manager.
She's like, hello. So we've got 2 votes.
Well, all right, let's hear it.
Okay.
So President Ossing says that he thinks that Arthur Bergeron was the most watched. And then Spencer commented, Danielle. And then a minute went by, and then he wrote, wait, no, definitely Christian.
Both, all good guesses.
Very
and
good
all
guesses.
really fun episodes.
Yeah.
And all
but
wrong.
all wrong. So our number 1
Biggest
watched
fan.
Yeah, biggest fan. I know, huh? I'm gonna take away that T-shirt that we gave you, Spencer. But our number 1 watched episode, and it might have something to do with the PR at the school, was Mike Bergeron. I'm just kidding. Mike Bergeron was a really awesome episode, and he came to us. It was the first week of school.
First day.
First day.
So Meredith reached out.
I had no
Would you
idea.
like to be on the pod? Oh, he was excited about it. She put it on the calendar, accepted the calendar invite. It was literally the first day of school, and the superintendent's.
What other city do you have the superintendent of the public school system going to talk about economic development on the first day of school?
In between his visits
this place is just
to the other
best.
schools. Yeah.
He was so dynamic. I loved him.
Yeah.
But our number 2 watched podcast, shout out, is President Ossing. And that one was really fun too. I think the reason for all the views was probably because we flashed his high school photo.
Definitely. Definitely.
That got some viewers. No, but again, just a really exciting topic. We talked about the city council and what they do and how we work together and TIFs. It was just really fun.
Teacher.
Yeah.
Such a great way of breaking everything down.
Right.
And guys, if you're looking on our YouTube channel being like, wait a second, that video doesn't have as much. We also stream to Facebook. So
we combine all of them. But
so we've got a clip.
Spencer mentioned Christian too. That was Counselor Dumas was on. Was it last week or the week before?
2 episodes.
2 episodes ago. Christian was awesome.
Yeah.
We talked all about small business. We talked about the Dine Local campaign.
Yeah.
Really great perspective from another resident born and raised in Marlborough, how he got to where he is.
Yeah.
We've just had so many really dynamic conversations. And Trish Pope, we had Trish Pope last week. She talked. My favorite part about Trish Pope, she talked about the DPW. Remember that?
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was just such a cool, fun fact about the city.
We have had so many fun facts.
I know. There's so
if you
many.
go back through our YouTube in the comments on the episodes, I'll say fun fact. So
Do
you
you?
can go right to the timestamp.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, there's so many fun facts.
So many fun facts.
Yeah.
But we had a clip from Mike Bergeron, speaking of the taxes, that he spoke about the meals tax, which I think that's another thing we should continue to let people know, that when you're dining out, hospitality manager, and Dine Local, all that good stuff, that the money's going, again, back into your community. Very innovative approach.
Right.
So when we jump into this clip, we just got done playing a game with Superintendent Bergeron. Spencer calls him Mikey B. I don't know who else would call the Superintendent Bergeron
Mikey B.
Mikey B. But we're definitely just heads up. We're about to jump into the end of a game. So
we're very excited, is what you're
is-
telling us.
It's just exciting. All right, here we go.
And fun fact, when you eat out in Marlborough, there's a tax, the meals tax goes right back into our parks and fields.
That's right.
And
So-
I get comments all the time, consistently. A lot of my cousins live in the areas. They have kids who go to different school systems. They come to Marlborough to play sports, and the number one comment is, how do you get these fields?
Yeah.
So thank you, City Council. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael Bergeron, for dining out so much.
I guess I'm supporting some of the
single-handedly
bond
supporting the
payments right
fields, right?
there.
That's awesome. We have no fun. We have no fun on this podcast. But that was a great clip. Mike was a lot of fun. He was a lot of fun. And again, he has the most views. I don't know. I mean,
well, you know what? He also he went over, I don't know, so many things that this school has gone through, the changes, the growth,
There's a lot.
the difficulties, also like debunked some thoughts about, oh, well, last year was a bust because of this. And he talked about how the data doesn't show that the students, especially, he got a little tease for how he says kindergarten.
He did get a little tease.
He does say kindergarten, but those kindergartners did show so much growth in that year of COVID. And anyways, it was a really informative episode.
Well, and we did talk about the work-based learning program too, which I think is the biggest thing that we do with the schools is trying to, we're bringing in all those big fish and those small fish and everything in between, but at the end of the day, we're able to connect them with our students.
Yes.
Which is huge. I mean, I say all the time, if I had the opportunities when I was in high school that these kids here in Marlborough have, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
You would have been in this role before.
Way before.
Yeah, age 17.
Executive director.
I think, too, going back to the work-based learning with him, he didn't take a traditional education and career path. That was so interesting to hear. His success, the
superintendent
success story.
Right.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed that about that episode because it was an example of the different ways you can learn or live your life.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so we're working on a couple of new work-based learning programs with different companies, so shameless plug, any of our companies that are watching, if you want to be involved, let us know, because that's a really great program. Patriot Ambulance is doing it now, but we do have some in the pipeline.
And
but
even
just a great opportunity.
Even if there's just, if you're a business and you'd want to get involved, but you don't know exactly if you can take on a whole thing, there are other ways. There's internships.
Absolutely.
I know that, speaking as someone that works in the public school system, I know that teachers and faculty and students, we've all been through so much in the last few years. So there might be some conversations that we can start planning now. And then over the next year or two, there's just so much room for people to get involved and to give back to these students. And I've been in the classroom teaching high schoolers and having local business owners just come in and give a little chat. It is so meaningful. They remember that. I mean, I remember when they had special guests coming into my classroom when I was in high school. And you might not remember their name, but you remember the stories that they told or the tips that they give you. So seriously, if there's local business owners or people, even retirees.
No.
Do you remember who visited one of your classes?
I remember they would do, I don't remember his name, but they did some presentations in the whole gym talking about making good choices, about drinking and driving, and telling their stories of things that they had gone through, whether they had made bad decisions and then I remember they did the reality fair. MHS just did the reality fair last week.
Recently, yeah.
It's that, I mean, I think we shared it on social media, but that is a huge eye-opener.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say where I went to high school because I'm very proud of where I went to high school, but I don't remember that when I went to school. Like, I remember being a good student, and I knew I wanted to go to college because that's what everybody did, which nowadays that's not what everybody does, right? There's so many different pathways. There's different things to think about. But I remember being 17, 18 years old and having this decision looming in front of me and not knowing what I wanted to do, and also not knowing who I could talk to about what type of opportunities, if I go here for school, if I go to school for this, what types of jobs are available to me?
Yeah.
And I just think Marlborough High School does such an amazing job. All of our high schools do an amazing job of laying that out for the students, connecting them with actual real life opportunities to go in and try it out.
Mentoring.
Yeah.
I think, so Ken's Foods came to the middle school when I was there. Right. So lifelong Ken's dressing user, obviously. Right.
What's
your
favorite?
Italian's unbeatable.
What's your favorite?
Classic
unbeatable.
It
and
is.
Blue cheese.
The mayor has just like bottles of Italian dressing.
Yeah, I
in
always
his
have
office.
a backup of Italian.
Yeah.
Great for marinating. Simple salad.
Hospitality manager.
But how cool. Then I went to college in New Hampshire, and anytime a Ken's dressing bottle came out,
you felt good about
look at my hometown's on here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Super
So we're
cool.
connecting these businesses with people that live here, go other places, come back home, visit.
Well, and I'd be remiss if we didn't mention the STEM Council, Mark Vital, the work that the STEM Council's doing. We've got all of our high schools in the community, AMSA, Assabet, the Marlborough High, Marlborough Public Schools, and now the New England Innovation Academy, all involved in this, I guess, consortium, this group that meets once a month to talk about how do we connect these students with our business folks. And there's business people that sit on that committee.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Yeah.
It's just great. We could talk about that forever because it's just, obviously we're passionate about that.
Spencer said that he remembers when Chris Herron came to tell us his story, which was covered in a 30 for 30 special.
Oh, that's cool.
That's awesome.
That was 30 for 30's ESPN, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I think so. I think it is, right? That's cool. So before we let you guys go, because believe it or not, we are bumping up against time, and we're not going to play a game with ourselves. I feel like we should have done that.
I thought about setting you up.
Well, why not?
I mean, we
kind of
did.
Well, I was setting all the video. I was.
So, but the last thing I have to say, which absolutely sticks out of my mind to our Mayor, who won again re-election last night for another 2 years, longest serving mayor in the city of Marlborough, starts his 6th term in January. But watching him eat that big cake from Sugar.
Here, you guys talk for a second. Let me see if I can at least pull up a screenshot of that.
That was such a fun moment to have him eating that cake from Sugar Heaven, one of our newest bakeries in the city. They opened during a pandemic. The food is phenomenal. But I think we gave him 2 pieces of cake that morning. We had an EC meeting in the morning, and he was just a riot.
I was just going to say, some behind the scenes of this podcast is that usually once a month we have a 7:30 a.m. meeting
right
before it.
Right. So we're usually really just like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to roll.
Yeah.
But he was so much fun because we also made him go down a trip down memory lane of like, where did you go in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s? And he was so much fun.
Yeah.
He was talking about restaurants that I think you grew up in, right?
Some of them, Some of them were even gone by the time I can remember.
Right.
But yeah, playing as a musician in the restaurants. And
it was awesome.
Just
what
that
was the one
community.
It was like the 8 something, the 8.
Oh, I still can't
You remember that one? Yeah, there was one.
name.
And then the bar, was it the bar none? Lunch, something about lunch.
The bar. Well, that's Hudson Meredith.
The bar lunch?
Yeah.
We didn't go there. Yeah. But he was really fun talking about the good old days. And,
he was really fun.
And we made him eat a ton of cake. So that was awesome. Did you find it?
I don't think I found
That's
it.
all right. We'll have to make sure we splice it in.
There was like, okay, so at the very end,
you could see the cake.
You could see, I'm like, Mr. Mayor, you got to say goodbye.
And he held up his cake.
And he was like, all right, is this over? And he was just chowing on.
Yeah, he said he didn't want any more cake, but
he kept eating.
Evidence.
It's really good cake. It's really good cake.
Well,
So-
hopefully he's eating lots more cake today.
This morning, celebrating. That's right.
Yes.
So with that, you guys,
Yeah.
this was a lot of fun.
This
I hope
was
you guys enjoyed this episode talking about all the fun that we've had in the past 17 episodes. We look forward to the next 17 episodes. But again, just a reminder, I hate to crush everybody's dreams, but we are going down to 1 episode a month, but it's going to be just fine. We really look forward to having all of you join us in December, and then also we're in November, right? So December, and then in the new year for 2022. So with that, thank you all very much for joining us. Thanks to the team.
Thank you.
And thank you to Linda as well, who's at home. Without the team in this room, this podcast wouldn't be possible, and we just have so much fun. So let's keep it happening.
Yeah.
So have a great
Thanks,
Wednesday, everybody.
everyone.
Bye.